The Giants are at San Francisco. I have 3 stats of the game. Stat of the game number 1. The 49ers have seen 101 pass attempts in 2 games. That's the most in the NFL. That's opponent pass attempts. So you might see a lot of passing from Daniel Jones. Doesn't mean it's going to be good, but he's going to throw it, hopefully. Stat of the game number 2. I already mentioned this one, but this is kind of dumb. But George Kittle, 2 of his 3 targets came with Ayuk off the field. I mean, Ayuk's going to be maybe a game-time decision. Kittle's been pretty disappointing so far. I mean, he's super quiet, but maybe he benefits if Ayuk doesn't play. And the stat of the game that does not matter for fantasy, but you should keep an eye on it because it's fun anyway. Since week 1 of 2022, last year, in week 1, Dontrell Hilliard had something like 60 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns against the Giants. Since then, no running back has had more than 28 receiving yards or caught a touchdown. 20 straight games now for the Giants where a running back has not reached 30 receiving yards or caught a touchdown. And that includes Christian McCaffrey last year, by the way. So, he's actually not catching that many passes right now, but it's just for fun. Let's see what happens there.
You taking that prop if Ayuk doesn't play?
But not, I was about to say, I won't take that prop either way, but if Ayuk doesn't play, I would expect this 20-game streak to end. So some tough fantasy calls here, I suppose. Daniel Jones is an easy one to sit, right?
Yes.
I'd like to sit him.
I'd tell you that the toughest decision I have, obviously, is as I have a Burrow and Purdy league. And if you have a Burrow and Daniel Jones league, what do you do there? So you want to give some advice to the Burrow manager?
Is Stafford available?
Are you going to roster 3 quarterbacks? You just drop Jones or Purdy?
I would drop Jones because if you drop him Thursday morning, you get to still get him back next week. And how many people will be clamoring for him if he has a stinker like he did against Dallas in week 1 with the similar pressure he's going to be under? So I would rather take the chance on I like Stafford better than Jones this week. So I'd go that route. But in terms of Purdy and Burrow, I'm in the same situation as you had in one league. And I would just play Purdy if we get no practice for Burrow on Thursday, which is probably what we'll end up seeing.
Okay. Do we like Purdy? Because I mean, my opinion is the Giants defense is bad. But I don't know how much throwing he's going to have to do. And he seems to have a bit of a ceiling. So Dave, how do we feel about Brock Purdy?
I kind of like him. If not for the touchdown throw to Samuel being ruled a lateral, he would have had 20 fantasy points or more in 7 straight regular season games. That's pretty good. That's a safe floor. You mentioned it. And on the short week, I wonder if they try and let Purdy throw while the game's competitive, which might only be 2.5 quarters, just a little bit more and not lean on McCaffrey as much as they normally might. So I like him as not a high ceiling play. I like him a lot less if there is no Ayuk, but 20 fantasy points. You can almost pencil it in.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna score 8 or 9 with his yards. He's gonna throw for about 215 yards probably, and
2 touchdowns.
Well, that's the thing if he throws the ball 28 times, which is what I'm projecting, I'm not going to project him to throw 2 touchdown passes. So that's why I don't like him quite as much.
I lean toward Dave where it feels like there's a safe floor and a limited ceiling, so he's not going to, I think, win you your week, but I think he's not going to, crater your quarterback production unless, as we saw last week, he doesn't get that second touchdown. But there's enough of a track record here that I would buy into it in this matchup per se. It's also the 49ers' first home game. They had the whole offseason narrative about what would have happened had he played in the NFC Championship game, stayed healthy in the NFC Championship game. I think they're going to let him get a couple of scores in this matchup just to make the crowd feel good about their next savior. So I like Purdy as a top 15 quarterback. Again, I don't think he's ever going to crack the top 8, but I think from like QB 10 to QB 15 is where he'll live almost on a weekly basis.
Heath, you have Daniel Jones fairly high, I think 13, but you said you'd like to sit him.
I would like to sit him, but there's a lot of quarterbacks that I don't like. And again, I think it's probably a 8 to 10 rush attempt and 35 pass attempt game for Daniel Jones.
So you have Jones ahead of
an 8-stat game for Daniel Jones too.
Yeah, Jones you have ahead of Fields. This could change, I'm sure, in your rankings, but Fields, Watson, Love, Prescott ahead of all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you guys agree with that? Jones ahead of Fields, Watson?
Not even close. No.
No.
All right. All right. What do you do if Barkley plays? Start or sit?
Oh boy.
You start him, but you just understand the circumstances. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a crappy week for running backs. I mean, like, hey, go get Jerome Ford, spend all your fab. By the way, he's playing the best run defense in football. So it's not pretty for a lot of these situations for a lot of running backs this week. So if Saquon Barkley's playing, unless you got Kyron Williams and Christian McCaffrey and somebody else,
How about
it's hard
Ford?
to bench him.
How about
Huh?
Ford? I mean, they both have tough matchups. Would you start Ford over Barkley?
No.
I feel like we're wasting time. Like if he doesn't even get into practice, we're expecting him to play and do well against the 49ers.
We've seen him rush back from an ankle injury before.
Yeah, it was terrible. In fact, he re-injured himself, if I recall.
And we saw last year, week 14 against the Eagles, everyone knew he was hurt going into the game. He played 31% of the snaps, and he was terrible. So let's assume we're not starting Barkley if he doesn't play or whatever. And how about Matt Breida or Gary Brightwell? Are they even going to crack the top 30 for you guys?
No.
I have Breida 28th, and I think it's too high.
Would you start a Giants wide receiver?
No.
Not if I could help it.
Would you? Okay, Darren Waller's top 5 for you guys. How do you feel about George Kittle in this game?
If Ayuk is out, he's potentially top 3.
Yeah. I mean, you saw Ertz was getting open against this Giants defense on Sunday. So if there's no Ayuk, they will use Kittle as more than just a short area guy. And he's moving well. It's not like he's slow or anything. They're just not throwing him the ball as much.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched him enough to say that definitely he's not moving well, but the few times they have thrown him the ball, nothing good's happened.
Right.
Yeah.
The issue is targets. It's coming down to just not.
I mean, if he had 7 targets a game in the same efficiency that he's had, he wouldn't have had a good season so far.
Not based on like where he had been before, but we'd be we'd be thrilled to start him if he was getting 7 targets a game.
Well, yeah. Okay. So are there any tight ends that you may have picked up? Would you start Hunter Henry over Kittle? Let's say Ayuk plays. Would you start Hunter Henry over him?
I would.
Yes.
But I'd flip it if there's no Ayuk.
Jake Ferguson? I mean, I don't even know.
No. The only one would be Henry.
I'm probably not making that move, but I do have Henry ranked ahead of him.
Right. That's a roster construction versus a ranking situation.
Yeah.
So let's see. Debo, yes. McCaffrey, yes. And how do you feel about Brandon Ayuk? And by the way, is Debo like a slam dunk? Because we'll probably get some Debo questions. I would say just start him. I don't think much of the Giants secondary, but I'm not trying not to be a negative Giants fan here. But they start 2 rookies, and these guys have been having a rough go at it, and they have no pass rush.
For Samuel, you also have the storyline from last week where Shanahan was asked about Elijah Mitchell not playing. He said, we have to do a better job of getting him on the field. And I think you saw Samuel was the number 2 running back. So maybe he loses a couple of carries for Elijah Mitchell. But if this game goes as I think a lot of people expect, if the Giants can't move the ball, that there could be starters resting at the end of the game here. So that's maybe where Mitchell comes into play. But how are you getting away from Debo Samuel right now?
You're not.
And Ayuk's a boom bust number 3 if he plays.
I'll go higher with Ayuk if he plays. Call him a number 2.
I would just be cautious. Like he could be a decoy in this game.
So I'm guessing is Puka Nacua ranked higher than both 49ers wide receivers?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Would you rather start, let's see, Tyler Lockett or Brandon Ayuk?
Lockett
for sure.
I have Ayuk right now.
How about I'll go a little lower end, Amari Cooper or Ayuk?
Cooper.
I have Ayuk over Cooper right now.
Cooper is home against Tennessee. Garrett
Home
Wilson
game against Tennessee. I mean, that's a slam dunk.
should be right. Garrett Wilson against the Patriots or Ayuk.
Ayuk.
Still
Wilson.
Ayuk.
All right. Which DST do you guys like better in this game? What's the spread?
10.5. I saw.
Yikes. That stinks. I mean, I hope we get a good game for Thursday night. I remember last year, I thought a lot of the Thursday night games were going to be terrible, and they ended up being pretty close. I don't know if they were good games. Like, remember that Denver Colts game? Was that Thursday night overtime, ended in a tie or something? But like closer games than I expected. But I don't know. Pretty down on the Giants, unfortunately.